Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán was once the most feared and powerful drug lord in the world who is now locked up behind bars. But have you ever wondered how he is really treated behind bars? Is he living like a king even in prison, or is he facing some kind of unimaginable conditions? The truth is, El Chapo isn't in just any prison. He's locked inside the United States' most secure facility, a place designed to completely break a man's spirit. No phone calls, no visitors without extreme checks, and there is hardly any human interaction.
El Chapo escape fears are not unfounded. He tunneled out of the last Mexican prison where he was locked up and rode to freedom on an underground motorcycle. That was his second escape.
The same man who once commanded armies of cartel soldiers now spends his days in total isolation, watched every single second. In this video, we're going to uncover the curtain on the life of El Chapo in prison, his daily routine, his restrictions, and why this place is considered a prison within a prison. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon to get regular updates. Let's get started. Who was El Chapo, really? If Pablo Escobar was the Michael Jordan of cocaine in the 1990s and 2000s, then El Chapo was Kobe Bryant. Different styles and times, yet still in the same league. Escobar possessed the charm, demeanor, and capacity to win people over by literally building soccer grounds. Chapo, he was less chatty, he liked the darkness. More strategy, less photo ops. But don't confuse quiet for weak. This man oversaw the Sinaloa cartel, which earned billions of dollars at its peak. Yes, a true billionaire. He helped establish the cartel, and when DEA agent Enrique Kiki Camarena was assassinated in the 1980s, the entire Mexican drug trade was shaken. Chapo climbed the ladder out of the mess. Felix Gallardo, often known as the godfather of drug trafficking, picked Chapo and Ismael El Mayo Zambada to govern Sinaloa. It was like receiving the keys to an empire. So what about Chapo? He didn't only steal the keys, he expanded the empire beyond anyone's expectations. The great escapes begin. But what truly made him famous was the escape. And I promise, if Netflix or Hollywood wrote this, people would laugh them off as it seems so unrealistic. But no, these things actually happened. The first escape occurred on January 19, 2001. Chapo was held in a highly security prison in Mexico, a place that appears to be impossible to depart. What about Chapo? He had a plan. He pulled off a stunt that is still spoken about today, using guards in his pocket and a network outside. Just imagine. He gets into a washing cart filled with dirty clothing. Francisco El Chito Cambros Rivera, a guard, practically wheeled him through the security doors. At one point, the cart begins to slide back and nearly spills. Could you imagine Chapo's heart stopping right there? All the billions and the empire could have perished because a laundry cart tipped over. But no, it remained in balance. Guzmán simply rolled out of prison like a pile of soiled socks. He got into the automobile that was waiting for him and drove off. What about the Mexican government? Embarrassed, obviously. But this was just the beginning. February 22, 2014 is the date. After years of evading capture, Mexican authorities apprehended him. They discovered him at a seaside hotel in Mazatlan. The DEA, U.S. Marshals, and other U.S. intelligence organizations collaborated on this. They broke into his hotel room early in the morning, discovered him in bed with his wife Emma Coronel, and placed him back in chains. El Chapo vanished again on July 11, 2015, barely over a year later. So, what about this time? The escape was frantic. Cameras caught him getting into the shower in his cell. The shower section was the only one in the entire cell that was blind. For 25 minutes, the guards did not notice him. When did they eventually look? He was gone. How? A mile-long tunnel, 33 feet underground with artificial lights, sufficient ventilation, and even rails for a customized motorcycle that helped carry dirt, possibly even Guzmán himself. I mean, it wasn't simply a hole. This was an engineering project, from the shower floor to a safe home that was being constructed. He emerged, brushed himself off, and the Mexican government once again appeared foolish on the international stage. At this point, even Mexicans mocked their own system. How could a single person do this to the state twice? The answer is money, power, and fear. January 8, 2016, the final capture. Mexican Marines raided one of his hideaway houses in Los Mochis, Sinaloa. Tunnels again. He attempted to escape again via a strong steel door and underground passageways. In his final frantic sprint, he took a car at gunpoint, but this time, luck ran out. There were road barriers, helicopters, and federal agents. The game was ended. They apprehended him, and this time Mexico realized they couldn't keep him there. The shame had grown to be too much. For years, the United States has begged for his return. In 2017, they eventually sent him north. What is the condition? Many people believe that a bullet to the head would have been a more humane end, but the United States had to vow not to murder him. The trial and the sentence. The court case was like a show. Many guards, hidden witnesses, tunnels, bribes, murders, and flashy shows of wealth were all part of the story. He was found guilty of everything. El Chapo Guzmán was given a life term plus 30 years on July 17, 2019. There's no way to get out on release. He wasn't just put in any jail. No, ADX Florence was the only place built to eat whole guys, so that's where he was sent. ADX is more than just a jail. It's like a living grave. It was made to hold the worst of the worst after the 1980s dangerous events. The Alcatraz of the Rockies was what some people called it. As well as terrorists and serial killers, they're also there for other bad people. When Chapo moved into his new home, he was going to be alone all the time. It's 12 feet long and 7 feet wide. The desk, stool, and bed are all made of cardboard, a toilet that doesn't have a handle to flush, a shower that you can turn on and off. There is a small window that doesn't show the whole sky, so it's hard to tell where you are. He stays there for 23 hours every day. He can only go outside for an hour, but it's not really outside because it's a pit. There isn't any grass, sun, or faraway point. He can see the sky if he cranes his neck. Even so, he is tied up, handcuffed, and being watched by guards. Food? Moved through a doorway. Before and after, he checks the plates in case he tries to use a spoon as a weapon. A small TV with a lot of closely watched shows like faith-based, educational, and maybe some basic news. He can have the books if he wants them. It looks like letters, but some parts are blocked out. The family coming to visit? Not at all. As the leader of hit squads for decades, you'd think El Chapo would find this funny. No, though. He even cried. Writing to the courts, he said he had headaches, never saw the sun, and was abused 24 hours a day. His lawyers say he doesn't get much sleep and is watched and pushed around all the time. There is no way out for the man who used to build drug bunkers worth billions of dollars. He is now stuck in a concrete shoebox. El Chapo's forever cage. So, the ADX Florence. Let's talk about what this place is really like. People usually picture a tough jail with lots of bars and maybe even more guards when they hear the word Supermax. No, though, it's not the same. This is the worst kind of solitary imprisonment. You can't get out of this place because it's so well thought out. It's crazy how hard it is. It's the early 1980s when the story begins. People thought that Illinois' Marion Penitentiary was the toughest prison in the country at the time. They lived there with the worst of the worst. On the other hand, the Aryan Brotherhood killed 2 guards in 1983. Their names were Merle Klutz and Robert Hoffman, not by chance either. These killings were planned and very cruel. The Bureau of Prisons then thought, okay, these guys can still plan, organize, and kill even in our safest prison. So the government said, okay, we'll build something so extreme that no one, not even the most violent, manipulative, or resourceful inmate, can get away with anything. What that meant was that ADX Florence was born. It's what prisoners called the nuclear option for the U.S. government. Since it opened in 1994, it has been a jail for terrorists, gang leaders, serial killers, and drug lords like El Chapo. The jail is about 37 acres and is in the Colorado desert. That makes it sound like a getaway, but trust me, it's hell. Everything around the area is made of razor wire, motion sensors, pressure pads, cameras, guard towers with guns and other things. There are no landmines. It looks like a scene from a science fiction movie in the control room. Guards can lock all of the jail doors with the push of a single red panic button. There are up to 460 rooms inside, but it's never been full. It's home to just over 300 guys right now. These guys were picked because no other prison could handle them because they were too dangerous, too powerful, or too well known. And El Chapo? Oh, he checks every one of those boxes, twice. Life inside his box. Now let's take a closer look at his daily life. Keep in mind that his cell is just a concrete box, 7 feet by 12 feet. His bed? A thin mattress on a concrete slab. Desk and chair? Also made of concrete. Bathroom? You have to flush it once every time you use it. He can't flood the place because his shower is on a timer. There isn't even a tap on the sink, there's just a push button, so he can't break anything off and use it as a weapon. There is a window, but it is only 4 inches wide and is angled so he can't see the outside. Why? He can't plan an escape if he doesn't know where he is in the prison. That's how much detail there is in the design. He gets his food through a hole in the door. After he eats, guards check the tray to make sure he hasn't broken off a piece of plastic or metal. He has a 13-inch TV in his cell, but he can't watch Netflix all day. It can only be used on approved channels like educational, religious, and maybe some old documentaries. He can write letters, but they are checked first. Calls, under supervision. Visits, not often. And always through thick glass. And what about his yard time? It's not really a yard. It's mostly a hole in the ground outside. Picture yourself standing in an empty pool with high walls. He can see the sky when he looks up. That's all. There are no mountains, grass, or a horizon, only sky. If the guards want to, they can give him an hour of that every day. He never knows when it will happen, sometimes at 6 a.m., sometimes at 4 p.m., so he can't get used to a routine. And when he is moved from one place to another, he is always chained up, handcuffed, and guarded. Always. Think about how different they are. This man used to travel in armored convoys and have private jets, gold-plated guns, and even whole armies of sicarios. What now? He has to stare at concrete walls for 23 hours a day. Some of the people who live at ADX Florence are well known for bad things. For instance, Ramzi Youssef, the man who bombed the World Trade Center in 1993, is down there. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, is also dead now. Zacharias Moussaoui, who was involved in 9/11s, has been there. Richard Reed is the shoe bomber. And Thomas Silverstein, the man whose murders in prison led to the creation of ADX. There is even a part called Range 13, which is the most remote part of the place. It's where they put prisoners who are thought to be too dangerous. And here's the crazy part. El Chapo isn't even in that part. Being an H unit is bad enough, but Range 13? That's the dungeon inside the dungeon. So yeah, for once in his life, Chapo isn't the most feared guy in the room. Mental toll. Now let's talk about the part that people don't usually think about, the mental toll. People shouldn't have to live in boxes away from other people. ADX has become known over the years, not just as a prison, but as a place that really messes with people's heads. There have been deaths by suicide, yes, there have been murders, even in a supermax. The isolation has driven some prisoners crazy. People have sued because they don't get enough mental health care. This is something that courts in other countries also agree on. A British judge said, "No way, not if he's going to ADX," when the US tried to extradite Julian Assange from the UK in 2020. Why? They thought it was inhumane? That's how bad it is there? Chapo isn't lying when he says he has headaches, no sunlight, and torture. This place was made to break you. His lawyers have done everything they can. After he was found guilty, they appealed, saying that the jury had acted improperly by reading stories outside of the evidence that said he had drugged and abused young girls. They wanted the trial to be thrown out. Judges said no. The conviction stands. So now, the only thing they can do is act good. If he behaves perfectly for years, he could, in theory, be moved to a prison that is less harsh, something that gives him a little more time outside, maybe even time to talk to other inmates. And what if that happened? He might be able to try to get away again. But let's be honest, the United States is not Mexico. The guards here don't take bribes. The spying never stops. And what about his past? Chapo won't be able to walk into a medium security prison in the US. It's just not going to happen. Here's the twist. Putting Chapo in jail didn't kill the Sinaloa cartel. Not even close. The cartel is still one of the biggest drug trafficking groups in the world. They still control whole towns, tunnels, seaports, and smuggling routes. The group fell apart after Chapo was caught. His old partner, El Mayo Zambada, is in charge of one side. He has stayed free all these years. Chapo's sons, who are known as Los Chapitos, are in charge of the other side, and they are just as cruel. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, led by Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, who is better known as El Mencho, has become a new competitor. They're younger, meaner, and more violent. They've spread more quickly than Sinaloa did in its early days, reaching Mexico and even the US. The narco war goes on, even though Chapo is rotting in a Colorado tomb. The Robin Hood myth, and this is the strangest part. Many people in Sinaloa still think of Chapo as a hero, a Robin Hood of today. Yes, he sold drugs. Yes, he was violent. He also built roads, schools, and churches, though. He gave money to people who lived in poor areas. He stuck it to the man. Some people think of him as Tony Montana, a criminal who lived large and helped his people. So even though he spends his days staring at concrete, people still sing songs about him in Mexico. Corridos, or narco ballads, make him sound like a hero. And in a way, that might be his real way out. He can't move, but his myth keeps going. El Chapo spends most of his time today writing letters to his twin daughters, his mom, and his sisters. He watches whatever is on his small TV. When he gets out, he walks in circles in a pit, and he waits. AMLO, the president of Mexico, has even said that he would consider asking the U.S. to send Chapo back because the conditions are too harsh. But let's be honest, the U.S. isn't letting go. No way after all the escapes, all the chaos, and all the billions of drugs, he isn't going anywhere. That's where the story ends. The man who used to dig tunnels under prisons and make fun of governments now lives in a box he can't get out of. He might have wanted to die like Escobar, with a lot of bullets on a roof. Instead, he's just fading away in a cell made of concrete. That's what power is like. There is always a wall waiting for you, no matter how high you climb or how untouchable you think you are. That wall wasn't in Mexico for El Chapo Guzmán. It was in Colorado, in a place called ADX Florence. So, would you dare to do such a thing if you were in his place? Comment us below. Like and share the video, and follow us for more. Thanks for